We engage in authentic conversations about our weekly entrepreneurial goals while exploring business, failures, success, and personal growth.
We're going to continue to work and get better at this, so thanks for tuning in.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Our vision will highlight a diversity of guests who are creatives, industry leaders, and individuals creating positive change within our communities. Join the Our Vision podcast on our shared journey to becoming better humans. It's not only our vision, but it's your vision too.
FSU.
So this is the Our Vision podcast, episode 8. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing well.
So a big thing that we've been doing this week is working on the podcast branding.
Yes.
You've been working on a lot of advertising, Facebook advertising. And I think we can get into that.
Okay.
Talk about
so
some of those
you worked really
we've been doing.
You worked really hard this week to finish up the logo for the show.
Yep, it's finished.
And then you started setting up the banners and the imagery and setting up all the accounts.
So all of the, the logo branding, setting up all the accounts for social media, YouTube.
So you helped me this week also. You've been editing for over a decade using, you started probably with Final Cut Pro and then switched to Premiere, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Was there any other?
So in school, when we were going to school together, I learned on Final Cut Pro 7, I think it was.
That sounds about right.
Excuse me. And then I transitioned to Premiere Pro years later.
And so you and I have worked next to each other for off and on though for years, right? And while you're working on projects, I've actually used the program a few times, but nowhere near like you use it. So this week you helped me out to, we got the account set up on my computer to use Premiere, and I wanted to get better at editing, and you did some behind the scenes footage for me when I was on a shoot with the telephone. And so we brought that footage in, brought it into Google, and then we started setting up, you started showing me the file management for that this week. So that was very helpful, and I was able to create one piece with still imagery and with the behind the scenes
video, and
then audio brought in. And then you showed me a few different techniques to clean that up a little bit. So,
right.
So it was really
how'd that go? Was it what you were expecting or not so much? I know you've done a little in the past, but not a lot.
There's so many nuances to these programs. Sometimes
tedious.
Yeah,
a lot of tedious.
One, for instance, was the audio. You're like, hey, grab the audio and pull it down, and I'm pulling in the wrong windows. And you're like, no, grab the wave right there.
Yeah, you can. There's many ways to do one thing.
Right. So you would tell me to go to editing, and there's 3 different spaces I can go to editing, and it would be the wrong area. But so that was hard to get used to at first. But yeah, I think overall it was really time consuming though for me. For as simple as the project was, it took me quite a while.
It can be an alien software, well, especially to first timers.
The one interesting thing about Premiere, though, I did like when you're pulling in the JPEG, you can go into preferences, you showed me, and you can tell each. So when you pull in one JPEG, it's probably set at default at 5 seconds. But that's what my computer was set up for the preferences. But you can shorten that. So what we did was we went back in and set up the preference so I could pull 10 photos in at once and made them 0.5 or 0.25, and we made them 1 second. And we decided that we came up with an amount of time that looked good for the project, right? And that was a time saver. So that was kind of interesting and helped me out. But yeah, there's so much you can do with that program. And
what was the most challenging thing?
I think just getting used to the interface.
How so, though?
I just felt clunky the whole time. Like I'd go to do something like an in and out point, and it just felt clunky.
Yeah, you were playing with in and out points, which is very simple once you figure it out. How to how to pull audio in, how to pull video in, how
Well,
to pull both in at the same time.
And the other thing you showed me, and I think it's really important, I've watched you do it for years, is the file management of everything. So I didn't want to start the project unless you were walking me through of how to set up the media cache and where that lives. And of course, we set it up a little different on my computer, but the concept is there. So, you know, each folder had the video folder had the video content. One had the other media that I was using, the images, and then the audio file had one and the logo. So each of those had a folder that lived in there besides. So it's easy to navigate. When you come back into your timeline and you're trying to browse for something that you want to use, an asset, you have that good file management. I think that's something that you really knocked into me with doing this project so that I would be more organized when we move forward on other projects that we're working on for clients. So thank you.
Yeah. Anytime,
Yep,
Joe.
that's cool. Yeah.
We're gonna do some more of it. I'm sure.
Well, it's helpful. I mean, the client loved what I produced. They shared it. You know, now it's the frequency rate and the reach is greater with this kind of project. Instead of just throwing an image up, what I did was I added the behind the scenes. We threw up maybe, 25 photos in there, put some music in there, had some, behind the scenes in between video, and then, of course, put the audio, exported that, tagged the person, put it on the 3 different social medias that we use for attracting more clients and promoting work. Instagram, Facebook, those kind of things. And then eventually it'll be on the website. And, just a great response. The client loved it. They were able to share it with their friends and family. And it shows the image so quick that they're not giving away their engagement shoot, because this is for an engagement shoot. So they can share it, but it's not like sharing just a still image where people are looking at it. It's flashing. It's really quick and high pace. So it was interesting. So thank you. And they enjoyed it.
So you're into the basics. There's still a lot more to learn with color grading, with sound mastering, different techniques. And I got into keyframing, though.
I did get into keyframing, and that was the other thing. Like, you're like, just getting used to the interface, knowing where to grab those 2 points. I'm outside of that window, and you're like, no, right here, these are the 2 points. If you collect these and pull them to the outside, that'll make it more smooth. And then we went and did something else to make the keyframing more smooth. I can't remember. You had me go into another.
Yeah, doing like an ease in.
We did an ease in, but when it was all done,
temporal interpolation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you showed me that, and it's something subtle, but you see it even in a small clip like we were doing. You could see how that
it's not
smooths
so
it
abrupt.
Out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So didn't have to do any color grading. You felt like for the purpose of what it was being used for, it was good. It stood on its own. It was fine.
And the footage was shot on the iPhone too, so they kind of had their own compression, I think, and it's very contrasty already. So for what you were doing, you didn't really need to grade much. It was kind of ready to go out of the iPhone. So,
and I think you asked me, like, was there anything that caught me, or I don't know how you asked that, but it was, how do you visualize what you want it to look like? That's a whole nother art. Compositionally, I know what I like, but piecing together 15 seconds, because it was about, I think it would end up being 24 seconds or something like that. I wanted to try to keep it at 14 with the opener, the logo, and the ending with the logo and the call to action that I still have in my project. Put it from 15 to 24.
That's
still
the thing
felt
too.
Pretty quick.
Is once you have that time frame limitation with the video, it makes you more disciplined at editing.
You did show me how to do that. You showed me where to set that up and put it in and out for the timeline to kind of keep me working within those parameters. And it did.
You have those constraints that you have to work within.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and that made me go back and shorten the JPEG clips that were put in there, right? And so that compressed it and put me back into where I needed to be. But yeah, so thank you. Great project. The client loved it.
So yeah, I mean,
it's definitely a format I want to use in the future, Brett.
A lot of technique and understanding the different techniques within the software, within Premiere Pro. Then after you have that figured out, it's all about creative vision and how that all works together.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother...
in tandem with technique. And
we talked off of the podcast about that. It's like a whole nother art.
Yeah.
But I knew you seen things different when we're doing things for clients. Like, you can kind of see, because you've done so much editing, when something's being shot sometimes, like what it's going to look like coming back to the edit station. And I don't always see that. And I think this is going to bring a whole nother dimension to us working together. While I'm helping out with communications and creative direction, I can do that, but I'm not always seeing the final product like you are. So I think this will really help me the more I get to do some edit jobs with us. So,
and it's important for anyone that's doing a podcast, if you've never edited, to learn how to edit video or audio. It's all the same.
Well, you can
using
use
the same techniques,
but you can use it like, I'm a photographer and it worked really well for this. Like, so photography, if you owned a store or something like that, it'd be a great tool to use
yes.
A great way and if you can't do that, understanding that you might need to hire somebody to do that for you. And that's okay too. But these are, even if you know the program, it is a time consuming thing to create something that has value, right? I don't think it's not like I'm going to be slapping these things together. I think I'll become quicker at it, but I don't think I was terribly slow either with having the help.
No.
So,
and also another important thing is, like everyone says, content is king. The more content you're creating, the more it puts you higher in search engine results. The more content you have, the more engaged people are going to be with whatever product or service you're offering is. So yeah, it's important to have somebody that can do the work for you, like video production or photography.
Yeah, if you're
a professional.
Well, I think there's a balance to it. I think there's a combination. Sorry, I don't mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was getting into kind of lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry about that, Brett.
No, it's okay. What I was getting into is, yes, it's important to have somebody, a professional that can create content for you. But if you can do a little bit on your own with like social media posts, it doesn't have to be super high quality. You could shoot something on your phone or take a photo with your phone or have just a consumer grade camera and shoot content with that. And
if you're
do short upload stories,
whatever you're trying to
small
promote,
posts on Instagram or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's important to know these things, even if you're not in that field. So, especially in today's world.
Yeah, I think when we were, wrapping up going to school or college or whatever for visual communications, like things were shifting. I just had a conversation with a friend today, and everything has become so segmented and niche marketed. It's kind of hard to know what to do on some level for business owners. I think we're seeing a transition again. I kind of agree with him. What I mean by that is like social media is changing even more so today. So I think things are shifting. Where it used to, let me clarify a little bit. I messed up a little bit, but so like where we used to have radio, newspaper, print was more, and then all of a sudden we went to the other extreme where it was all digital, right? I think, and then now it's become so niche. So we can all niche down to our personal likes, dislikes, whatever, whether that be a radio or television station. Like even when we look at our Samsung television, it's built in to have, I don't know how many stations, there are over 100 stations on there that are free, that when you purchase it. So that's kind of a niche market, right? And they don't have as many commercials, but they make us wait to watch the programming. We'll be back in a minute and 40 seconds, and it's just a picture of, this is the 80s creative TV show, right? And you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. You're like, and then the movie comes back on because they're not selling advertisement spots for it yet, right? So my point is that it's hard to know what to do in your business, I think. I don't know if you find that to be true sometimes to promote yourself. I do. Like,
yeah, there are challenges I'm with marketing yourself. And putting yourself out there and being willing to advertise your brand when it comes to like reaching out to people, and if you have to do cold calls. I know it's a separate thing from like social media marketing and advertising, but there's some of that within that realm too, because you have messaging. People can message you. You can reach out to people through the different integrations within like Instagram and Facebook. So
And that happens.
Sense,
yeah, it does make sense. Like, so when you're saying like reach out to somebody, we talked a little bit about that. And I think in an earlier podcast, we were talking about, how do you reach out to people to get new business? And one of the ways you could do that is through the messaging. So if you're good at taking photos, you could take a photo, something that they're selling, something similar, and show them, hey, I think you should do this, if they need help doing that. Or if you see their website doesn't have any video on it and you do video production, you could contact that company and say, hey, we noticed that you don't have any. We're a video production. We'd like to meet with you and talk about that. So, it's a numbers game at that point. Some people are going to be looking to promote themselves. Some aren't. Some are going to have a budget. Some aren't. But yeah, so is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes,
having those different outlets, integration, depending on what you're using.
Yep. So yeah, currently I'm doing that with the podcast, not as deep as Joe's going right now with his photography. And then we're going to implement it into the video side of business.
When we say my photography, we're also looking at how we're going to promote across the board everything we're doing.
Yeah.
So that's our podcast. That's our video production. That's photography. How are we going to integrate that? We're working with a client right now. We're not going to drop the name, but how do we integrate pulling more photography business with them to maybe do product photography for them? So yeah, how are we gonna promote all that? And then I'm realizing we had a conversation with a friend this week that her husband does ad campaigns and things like that, and does promotions and things like that. And I think maybe might benefit us to talk to him a little bit in private to learn more. And that brings me to another point, is finding people who are better at what you need to learn, right? And connecting with those individuals, whether you have to hire them or have communication with them, or if they're friends of yours, and having talking about it. Figure, do you do X, Y, Z, and how does that work for you, and why does it work for you? I think that's really important, because there's so much stuff to learn. It seems endless.
Yeah, sure is. So going back to the podcast also, so it's really about, we created the branding for it. So we have the logo, setting up all the social media accounts. Next, we're going to build the website. So it's all integrated. Everything's connected to each other. So it's like a umbrella of the brand, I guess.
Right. Yeah. And simple too. We're not looking to, we just want a platform to share and this is our experience, meet some other people that are doing some things, but we want to also keep it simple. It's not like we want to be real complicated. This is not the only thing we do. We also have a business to run. We also have this place to fix up, and who knows, and we have to live our lives too. So we want to keep it simple. So you talked about that today too, about just a simple couple pages, right?
Yeah, that's the time consuming part is building all that. Once it's built, then you have those platforms ready to utilize. Yep. So then you can start posting your content. That's where the content comes into play. And the same with what you're doing, with the things that you're learning for advertising your business and the video part of business. So, I think it's like we're learning as we do it. Mm-hmm. And
well, in the last 12 days, last 3 weeks, we created 2 videos for the photography end of the business. And the result back was really good. What we saw, the reach was high, higher than what I had before. I mean, I wasn't promoting anything. So let me clarify on that. When I was teaching, I didn't hardly do anything but throw a picture up every once in a while. I didn't ask for business. I didn't promote. I didn't think of how I was going to market. I had enough business coming in that I was content with. And then when I shifted like this, I started going, okay, this is what we need to do daily, is learn how to better promote and reach out and grab more business, right? Or new clients or revenue. And this last 3 weeks, we did 2 videos. And I think it's done well. I also ran an ad, and I had, I got terrible search engine SEO on my website. I haven't worked on that at all. It's just a portfolio for Adobe. And I was starting from that one video that you and I created, right? We ran the ad. I spent, I don't know what it was, $38. And I started getting emails in my inbox to hire me. So it is working. I think it can be better. I've got it down to about $1. The lowest I could get it was $1.30 a click. So that's, to me, is I'm okay with that right now. So it is working. So
it's important to stay up on, as technology changes and these platforms change, it's important to stay up on understanding how they operate, because there's small things that'll change every now and then. And if you fall behind, which I have, and I am, because I wasn't marketing and advertising the way I should have been.
Yes.
There's a even bigger learning curve to that. And you're seeing that as well. You're going through that.
Oh yeah.
Like
the longer you
wait.
wait.
Last time I advertised on Facebook was, it was several years ago. And now it seems like it's like an entirely new beast in itself from what it was. It seemed a lot more simple than what it is today from the last time I did it. So
I don't know, because I'm just learning. I'm just trying to figure out how much money do I need to spend in our business to get back a return so we can continue to build relationships with new clients and have revenue year round, right? And you have to do that through advertising. I don't know any business, hardly any business. I mean, if anybody knows, please put it down in the comment. But I don't know of any business that doesn't take some time to promote or advertise. And I think some of that's going to take paid advertisement. It's becoming, to me, it's hard though. It's hard to know where to put that money at. I don't think it's just a simple question. I think that happens over time.
Here's our problem. Now, I don't want to speak for you, Joe, but my problem was I was focused on content more than I was marketing side of things with business. And I focused more on content, and it kind of hurt me along the way because I wasn't getting the results. For so many years, I wasn't doing what I should have in that area, in that side of business with like marketing and advertising.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something we've agreed on this last year, and we're looking more into it. And you see that I'm trying to put the work into learning more about that. I have a concept of who our ideal client is, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that we've defined. But anyways, yeah, so just working on those things again this week. I know I bring that up every week on some level. I had a good response. I feel like the work that you made moving forward and setting up the social media this week, I was really happy with the progress on that. I love our logo, and that can evolve as time goes on, but we needed something to get started, and it's not just something. You've worked really hard on it. I think I enjoy it too. Yeah, it seemed like you did. Yeah.
Probably taking more time back on this endeavor that we have going on with the podcast than I have with business, but now things are ramping back up. On the video production side, we have a client that's coming back for work, so that's the next task at hand.
Yeah, and I think we need to, like you said, ramp back up on cold calling again and starting to find that and getting those who are we going to target, right?
Pushing for more business, right. And like how do we approach that? So cold calls, emails. Joe's the master of that, so he's going to be handling those things.
But I got really excited about what we created for the photography end of business, and I know that other people need this. So I've been thinking about that. How do we help small businesses promote themselves and also be something that we can afford to do for cost of doing business, right? And so I'd like to look at that off the air sometime and talk a little bit more about that too, is how do we target those people? Because I like seeing local small businesses or small entrepreneurs succeed also. Yeah. So I'd like to hear from, if anyone's watching this, I'd like to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, suggestions, maybe something what are you guys, that we could look into. Yeah, what are you guys doing to market your business? Maybe test it out, Yeah. So if there's any questions, just shoot us a message, comment. That'd be awesome. Yeah, reaching out, cold calls, reaching out to past customers that we've had. Yeah, we haven't heard from in a while. And this year, continuing those relationships. And this year, what we did was we started getting everybody down in an Excel sheet that I was building. Right, it might not be the best one, but we at least started it. Right, so that goes back to us reaching out to our clients. How are we going to reach out to all of them, and whether that be through email or calling them, or even just sending, just stay thinking about you, how's business going, and wanted to know if you were working on anything. Simple, and so we worked on that this year. Over the last 5 months. So I want to continue to add to that list. Yes. And I think you're right. We need to reach out to those people. So, anything else?
I want to go back to like the Facebook stuff that you've been learning with advertising, Facebook ads, and I know you've been encountering some problems. You want to talk about some of that?
So I never had a business page either. Like, so I was doing, I was subcontracted with another really good friend of mine, photographer, because I worked full time. So I would do, I'd come in and $500 a day would come in and photograph the event, and then I would be done. I wouldn't have to edit. I wouldn't have to do anything. And her and I work really well together. So I didn't really have a business page set up. Everything else that I got was word of mouth. I didn't do any promotion up until this last September, right? This has all started for me since September, right? And everything that you and I did on that side of the business was all, very, we didn't promote that either. These were just contracts we had, and I'd come and work on them when I could. You understood that if I was at school teaching, I couldn't do it, or I'd take a personal day. You and I would spend off hours when I wasn't there to talk about the project and set it up and what we'd want to do and plan it out and think about it, right? So now I'm back at trying to even though I've been doing this for a decade, I haven't done any of the marketing. So I'm using Facebook, which still works for me. I make thousands of dollars every year just on posting my images, and I have for over a decade now. That's crazy when you think about it, without really advertising. I'll just throw a picture up. But now I want to so I set up the business page, and I actually hired somebody recently, and Laura Jean, and so she's helping out, right? And so I pay her every month to do some posts and everything like that, but she helped me set up the page and everything. These are things I knew how to do, but I wanted somebody more focused on that they want to do that, right? So today I'm in there trying to tag somebody, right, on the business page. Now that seems like it should be so easy, right? You should be able to go in, I do a client, I make a post up thanking them or showing the work that has been done, share it with them so they can share it with their family or their business, right? And I go in to tag them, and it won't let me tag them on the business page. It's frustrating, right? Because on your...
Oh, I know it's frustrating.
Have you had it on your...
I hear your fucks and shits.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, it doesn't... Damn it. It doesn't make sense. Like, because all these other years I've been using just a personal page. Go in, tag, everything works beautiful, right? And I go in here and I go to look for a vendor, or I go to tag somebody, and it's not working, right? So this afternoon, I was like, I thought I was doing something wrong. So what I did was I went through and watched a few videos, which I love because there's other information out there sometimes, and I sift through the crap and found somebody that encounters the same problem. They gave me a few techniques to get around that, and it did work. And it would be hard for me to verbally describe that right now because I've just now started doing it. But so frustrating not being able to tag somebody, because that's your reach, right? So that extends the amount of people that can see you. So being able to do that and not do that might make the difference of 1,000, maybe 1,000 people. That's huge when it comes to promoting yourself, right? So I don't know if anybody else is having that problem out there on their business page, but I have been, and I'm trying to learn to do that and handle that better. And I will learn, but yeah, it's so frustrating. But I think I figured out some things today. It's crazy.
Yeah, we were... So we're recording this on Saturday, which is an off day for us. We do typically Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, but today
we'll get into why we're doing a podcast today, but
it was weird though this week too because we worked today.
That's what I was getting into. Yeah. The thing is, just before we did this, we wrapped up working, so we were working all day today on whatever our goals were for the day.
And I wasn't doing it around the clock. I mean, I took time to water plants and ate food, and
But we were sitting hamming it out.
We were, yeah. I mean, we're at the station pretty much today trying to figure it out, or do whatever we were doing, or look at the logo and does this look all right, and da. So yeah, today was, even though it was a Saturday, we're still working, and then probably tomorrow we'll wake up and we'll do something else.
So we're continuing to do something every day, even if it, like we said, for an hour.
Yep. And today was more than an hour, but yes.
And here's another side of the business side of things that a lot of people don't talk about. And it's how you balance your work and business life and how they can interfere with one another.
Yeah.
And there's so much going on with business that sometimes it's hard to make time for other people. and family, friends.
I know you've had trouble with that too.
And then there's a lot of other things that are going on within your family life, or it could be friends and family or whatever that interfere with the business side.
That's a good point, because I was invited to go to see the.
It's like, what do you value more, and how do you balance that?
Yeah.
So
got excited, and I'm sorry that I started.
No,
but you bring up a great point, because I've watched you struggle with this and over the years. Somebody will call you, and because you're not doing a regular 9 to 5, it's like, oh, you can come do that, and you're like, yeah, but I have this edit to do, I have that to do, and it's I don't want to speak for how they feel, but I know you feel like sometimes like they don't get it, right? But I was thinking the other day, I had a friend call, and he invited me to go see a soccer game. And I'm going to fail miserably because Brad knows I'm not into sports, but it was like some soccer cup in Columbus, Ohio, which is huge. And I know it's really exciting. And yeah, I could have easily said, yeah, but we had committed 6 months ago that every day we were going to do something. So for me to just pick up and go to the soccer game, even though I had the time, I had to say no to him. And he respected it, but it's interesting. Like you have the choice to do whatever you want with your time, and that balance, trying to find that balance can be tricky sometimes when you're on your own.
For me, because I do have issues with procrastination at times, or it's not even that. It can be just losing focus.
Right.
Like Roy Browning says. A little plug for Roy. We'll have him on soon. Anyways, going back to what I was saying, is I could lose focus and get off track with what I'm doing work-wise. And that can hinder relationships. And what I mean by that is, like we've been saying, do something every day, even if it's one thing. Because the more you do, the more free time you have. I know it sounds
no, I get it. So
backwards, but
we've talked about this for years. Is like,
but when you put things off, which I've done in the past, it almost makes more work for you in less amount of time of freedom to do things with your friends and family. To spend
that's the goal,
valuable
right?
time with them.
The goal is to make your money. We want to condense money making.
So do the work up front, and then hopefully, as we move forward, it'll be less time that we spend behind our desks at our computers and more time.
Or out in the field or whatever we're doing, right? So but it brings up a good point, is like that balance, right? So, how do you create that balance in your life? We know right now we're getting out of balance a little bit. We know we need to get focused back on the video production end of the business, right? So we're going to have to crack down, set some goals, and hold each other accountable. And I think we've talked about this in years, that we're better when we're working together because we hold each other accountable. It's more motivated to have another person working with you than trying to do this all on your own. I would love to have 5 more of us around that had the same kind of philosophy or similar philosophy, that wanted to produce great work or was better at something, maybe animation or I don't know, whatever, right? So yeah, finding that balance. And I think when we got done with a project last week, that's why you said, do you want to go to West Virginia, right? That's like, you're like, you know what, we don't have anything to do for a day or two. Let's go enjoy.
Well, the main reason was Wizard Weekend was happening.
Well, I don't know.
And we went through our Harry Potter marathon, so just felt like the right time to do that.
Right. So we went down to where?
Our bro break.
Where did we go?
We went to, my family has a house in Raynell, West Virginia. It's kind of in the mountains. It actually sits on top of Sewell Mountain, which is, I think it's the highest elevation in Fayette County.
I'm not sure.
But I could be wrong.
I know when the first time you invited me down to that place, Brad, you were like, hey, have you been to the mountains? I'm like, yeah, I've been to the mountains. So we drive, and it starts getting dark. We were going down for a whitewater rafting trip with a group of people, and Brad's leading us all up there, and we're taking different vehicles and everything, and we get up in the mountains, and it is dark. And I thought, and we start like zigzagging back and forth to get up to the house, and I was like, no, I've never, I told you I'd been in the mountains, but I had never been in the mountains like that before. And I was like, holy cow. But what a great place, man.
Yeah, my dad says there's this curve we go around, and he's like, as we're going around it, he's like, can you see the taillights or what? He's like, can you see the rear end of the car?
It's so sharp. He was like, look out the window and see if you can see the taillights, because
it's like a teardrop turn. Yep.
That's pretty. Yeah. So, but what a great place. That was your.
It's beautiful there.
Great grandfather built that.
My great grandfather built that. I didn't know him. I knew my great grandmother when she lived there, and that's where my grandfather grew up. And then it was handed down to my dad, and now we maintain it. So it's just a nice getaway because, especially because I got into mountain biking, so there's a lot of mountain biking trails around there. So I want to get into like whitewater kayaking.
We were kidding about the Wizard Harry Potter ship, but that was really going on in Fayetteville.
I just I looked randomly on their Facebook page, Fayetteville, the Fayetteville Facebook page, and they just happened to, right after we finished our marathon, they just happened to have a Wizard weekend.
So we went down and we get in.
We had a snowstorm.
We get in, and like an hour before we really get to the house, it starts snowing more and more and more. So we got to travel up these roads. It's slick as shit out, right? His dad's driving. You're starting to feel. No, wait. Did I get sick? I got car sick.
You were getting car sick.
I got car sick. So your dad was nice enough to stop a couple times. Had he not, I would have probably puked all over the car. And then, as we get closer to the house, it's really slick, right?
Yeah.
So your dad's like very cautious driver.
My dad's a good driver.
Very cautious.
Like he's one person that I'm comfortable riding with. Yeah. There's not too many people I'm comfortable riding with, especially on a long trip like that.
And the cliffs are like, it's crazy. You're like, the edge of these mountains is just, I would hate to go over a guardrail
and there's some that don't have
guardrails. Yes. Yeah. So your dad starts to slide a little bit, and we're like, oh, shit.
And it wasn't even in a dangerous location that he was sliding. We were kind of down, like, there's windy roads. There's kind of locations where you kind of drop down, like the road descends, I guess you could say. And we were kind of going around a curve.
Right, descending down, yeah. And the back end just started sliding.
But man, he started sliding, and my heart almost flew out of my chest.
Your dad's hands were sweating. He was feeling it. So we finally get to the house, right? We make it there, and we get settled in, and it's snowing like hell. So now we're in the mountains, and the temperature's dropping too. It gets cold. It got down to like, I don't know, like 8 or 12 degrees or something like that. Very cold.
The next morning it was
so cold.
It was bitterly cold. I was in the teens, I think.
In the back of the Walton's house, you can look straight up a mountain, right? Pretty much your back of your guys' yard, and just beautiful, man. We woke up in the morning. There was a couple deer up there rooting around, I think Saturday, digging for food. And so the sun came out, and we decided to go to Fayetteville. And so you said mountain biking, and we went down there, and there was a coffee house, I think Cathedral.
Yeah, there was
Cathedral Coffee House.
Coffee shop, juice bar, coffee shop.
And the kids were walking around all dressed up in Harry Potter stuff.
Yeah. Because of COVID, there wasn't many people out. Well, it wasn't just COVID; it was the weather.
Well, yeah, because we just had the snowstorm.
Weather, and so there wasn't a lot of people out. But yeah, we saw some people. We saw a guy dressed as Hagrid.
Yeah,
he was a big guy too, so he fit the part.
Yeah. And then we went to the coffee house. They had like candles hanging on fishing line, like you would be at the, the Hogwarts thing. So the kids were having good. Parents were walking around with their kids. We went in and out of a few of the shops. You went to that one mountain biking. We walked down to the one mountain biking place, and you said they had some really nice bikes in there.
New River mountain bike shop.
Is that what they're called?
I think so, yeah.
So they were friendly. We walked around because you're into it.
Had some nice ass bikes in there.
Yeah, you knew it because
I can't afford most of those bikes in there, but
so then we went up to a store called I have a little sticker here. It's called Lost Appalachia Trading Company. A young guy that owned the store was in there selling T-shirts and artwork, and really tasteful store. I hope he makes it. Was nice. So I bought a piece of artwork there.
So Fayetteville, it's a little town in West Virginia. It's near the New River Gorge Bridge, which used to be the tallest bridge in the world, the highest bridge in the world. But it's up there. It's one of the highest bridges in the world, and it's They do Bridge Day every year.
Yeah, you said
people base jump off the bridge. That's pretty cool. But Fayetteville is a small town in West Virginia that's not too far from there. It's very, I guess you could say, outdoorsy. They have a lot of shops for kind of outdoors people, hiking, rock climbing,
the rocking,
biking.
That was really cool,
kayaking.
Wasn't it? Super friendly. Do you remember the name of that store?
I don't remember.
There's probably not too many in town there, though. They were really friendly. They had used equipment. They had used climbing shoes. They had new equipment. They had ropes. They had the harnesses and everything for rock climbing. It looked like you could hire people to go out and do rock climbing. That was pretty cool. But they were super friendly in that store. We just kind of tripped into the store and wanted to look around a little bit because we'll be going back down in the summer when we can take a break and enjoy the outdoors a little bit. But
so yeah, it's a good town for the outdoorsman, the extreme sports person, kayaking, like I said, biking, rock climbing.
The whitewater rafting down there is amazing. Like I've actually done that once. I enjoyed it. It was a great time.
Yeah, so it's a nice little town to visit, and I go there every time I travel down to West Virginia. So yeah,
and we were really silly coming up the mountain. We didn't have any food at the house.
Yeah.
So
you bought at the Lost Appalachian Trading Company. You bought a piece of paper sculpture. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's Questionable Press is the name of it, and I guess it's this woman Sarah. Anyway, she makes these from the wood press. So all these designs are done with wood press somehow, I think. She has her own. So
it's a dragonfly paper sculpture.
Yeah. So I figured it'd be kind of cool to put together.
What's her company? Questionable Press.
Yeah.
She's out of Ohio, I believe.
Yeah. So I was just going through a store and I wanted to buy something to kind of support his store, and
he had some nice designs and clothing, like nice material too.
Yeah, and he was kind of into arts too. It looks like, because there was a couple books of different projects kids can do or adults and things like that. So he had a nice feel to the store. Very clean.
Yes.
Kind of earthy. And he was very friendly also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we contracted the flu or something while we were in West Virginia. I came down with something and then ended up puking Saturday night, I think it was.
And then your dad got sick.
Then my dad got it. And then we got back and Joe had it, but didn't have it as bad as we did. So, man, that messed with my stomach.
Yeah.
And that's what I had before. That was that same thing that I had back at Christmas when you're out of town.
We had rented a beach house with my family during Christmas, but so that's kind of put a kink into our trip. But we still had some enjoyment.
Yeah, it was still a good time. That was at the end of the trip, so we had to leave the next morning. That was kind of miserable. I slept in the back of my dad's truck.
Well, at first I sat, because you're kind of taller, so I sat in the back.
Yep.
And then you weren't feeling good. I'm like, man, I should probably just let you sit in the back and lay in the back, because we cleared everything out and you laid in the back. Yeah, I think you slept almost the whole ride. Once you were pretty sick.
I was thinking I would either be sleeping or driving, because I think if maybe I was driving, I would have been okay. And I think that's probably why my dad was okay. Because when I wasn't driving, just feeling the motion of the car just wasn't sitting with my stomach.
Yeah, that's what made me sick. I'm not used to not driving. I'm usually the one behind
but
the wheels.
That wasn't because of the driving. That was because of having whatever it was that we had. So I don't know if it was the flu or if it was the Omicron variant. I have no clue. So
I'm really happy we went down. It was great to see the property in the snow. I did a couple night shots. I like to do night photography for myself. So you came out to try to help me, but you were feeling too sick. So I was like,
I tried though. I did come out.
Yeah, you're like,
but I was like,
do you need help? I'm like, no, I'm good, dude.
Cold was not.
But I got a really nice shot of the house with the big oak tree with no leaves on it and some stars in the background.
Did those turn out? I never saw what you
they're okay.
Captured.
It was so cold that I felt like I didn't focus on the stars correctly. I like to zoom in on them and get them pinpoint, then back out. But I got a couple of shots that I liked.
So you did long exposure photography.
Yeah, I did
for those shots.
13 seconds on those, and it probably should have done 10. So
yeah.
But yeah, they turned out.
Can you explain that? What's long exposure photography?
Well,
I know what it is.
Yeah, I know. So you have a shutter speed on your camera, and for the best I understand, and maybe I'm wrong, but if I am, somebody can correct me. But if you leave the shutter open and you're trying to capture the stars longer than, like if I do 13 seconds, you can actually see, star movement. Right, the shift, right? So that's when you look at those long exposures, when they point the camera at the North Star and they leave it open. I don't know how long they leave it open for, and you see those spiral shots. That's long exposure, right? And I like nighttime long exposure. I like the feel of it. I like how it changes the color, the depth of the shadows, especially when you're shooting the stars. Sometimes when you take a shot of the stars and you're in a dark situation, you see more stars than your eye is actually seeing. So that's kind of interesting. So I just enjoy it for myself. It's more kind of, I don't know, just something I enjoy doing.
We'll have to share when we were roommates at the lake house. We did a lot of long exposure photography and time lapsing.
Well, one is over 10,000 images,
and
if I'm not mistaken.
We captured a UFO.
Yeah, we off a lake.
I don't know what it was.
Off of Lake Erie, there's a stream of light coming off the frame, right? So what we did was, right, we took an image, we'd have to look at the metadata. It's been too many years now, but we took a series of images and we let an intervalometer take the shot. Yeah, take the shot. So we'd take a shot if it was 30 seconds or 10 seconds or 12 seconds. I don't even remember what it was.
I have all the metadata.
We'd have to look at that. So. And then we took thousands of images and then we dropped it into I don't know which program we used. I was
using a couple different programs at the time. It was like
something that
I would bring it into Bridge. I would grade each
batch grade
image.
Everything.
But with that, I didn't, because I wanted to just put the time lapse together because of what we captured. And I went through, I tried to debunk it and figure out like what could have caused that. Like,
but what I'm saying is, did you batch out the grading all at once?
I batched it out, but I didn't grade it.
Okay.
I just batched it out from what I remember. I'd have to look, like I said,
it doesn't
back
matter.
at the files.
It doesn't matter.
But yeah, I could not figure out. It didn't make any sense the way it came into frame from the lake, and where it was at over the lake. It looked low.
So we'd be pointing at
and
Canada,
it
right?
Shot off.
We'd be pointing at Canada.
Yeah.
North.
Right. Yes.
And so that, if you look at that picture from memory, now it's been a while, we haven't looked at that image, that sequence in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah. Off the bottom of the frame, where it shoots up, right, towards the east.
Yeah, it starts low, and this is before drones even became a thing.
This has been
in the mainstream,
It wasn't a drone.
And we didn't see anything with our eyes. We didn't see anything with the naked eye because we were standing out there capturing these photos. And it came low from the lake, and slowly you could see it picking up speed, and it just shot off like that. And you can see the trail of it as it shoots up through the sky.
And last I checked, meteors don't shoot up, right?
So, I mean, when we share it, maybe somebody will have an explanation.
Right, but the metadata is all there.
Knowing photography and video.
No, I couldn't. So. And the metadata is all there. So what we can do is figure out the mathematically, like how long the shutter was open and how quick that's moving.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody can do the math on that someday, that would be interesting.
So we'll get more into those interesting subjects. Right. We've had a lot of weird experiences. So, but yeah, and then we came back from West Virginia. A week later, we get a huge snowstorm in Ohio.
Yeah.
After our snowstorm in West Virginia.
Yeah, it was pretty.
So we're like locked up in the house for a couple days.
It's hard to say how much we got.
It wasn't terrible. It's been a while since we've gotten this much snow.
It's been years since I've seen this much snow, but they did a great job clearing up. The roads are, we're all back, and everybody can, I don't know, put their 12 loaves of bread they bought in the freezer and save them. I don't know what they do, whatever people do when they panic,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else on the table for this week?
Yes.
Weekend?
This weekend? Mm-hmm. Well, we're going to do another podcast tomorrow, so
yep.
Have to come up with a good template for that. Yeah. Yeah, so that's why we're doing a podcast today because we were sick.
Mm-hmm.
So Sunday, I just was feeling like shit. And Wednesday, you were feeling like shit, right? So
and then we just kind of
yeah,
lost track of the week here.
So yeah, getting back on track. And then to get back at, as a wrap up, so basically what we're doing with this podcast and how we're launching the episodes. So everyone knows, and here's what to expect, basically, is we're going to release 2 podcasts per week. We're not sure what days they're going to be on, but there's going to be a scheduled release day for each of those days. And we're coming up close to our 10th episode. So this is our 8th episode. So I think not too long after we finish the 10th episode, we're going to launch it.
Yep.
Maybe like a week or 2 after, I would say, just so we have all of our platforms ready to go. And we're going to launch, I would say, at least 5 episodes at once.
Right.
And just from the research that I've done on podcasts, like, what do you do when you first launch? And they recommend launching at least 5 to 10 episodes when you first launch. So we have 8 in the bank after this one. And then by Wednesday, we'll have 10 in the bank. And then shortly after that, once all those platforms, especially the website.
So we've been doing this for 5 weeks. This will be actually our 6th week. 6 week.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we started before this, getting the microphone set up and testing it and setting up the lighting, and we did a couple pre-test ones. So we've been doing this for over 5 weeks.
So consistently doing it every week,
Yep.
twice a week.
Yep.
And we may do more in a week at some point. And again, keep in mind, we're going to have guests. It's just scheduling those people, and it's kind of tough right now with COVID going on. So
I gotta say though, I'm becoming more comfortable with, I'm vaccinated.
I'm not concerned about it for myself.
If we can find people that aren't concerned, but if we find some, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
point. I'm
fine with it too.
Time to move on.
If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
But we can also do, the streaming.
Right.
So
that's an option.
If someone wants to, I'm looking into those options as well.
Yeah, I thought you found some good solutions for that.
Yeah, so I can't remember what those are. I can talk about those sometime. But yeah, that's our plan for the podcast on, when the launch is going to be and how often we're going to do it. So yeah, expect at least 2 a week. And then as we continue moving forward, we'll have our system nailed down more so, because we've kind of been winging it a little bit for these first episodes. Some have been more structured, some haven't.
Right.
And a lot of that had to do with, like, I was struggling in some of the podcasts.
Well, I think the philosophy's changing too. I think what we want to do is it'll develop. I think when you started, we didn't want to format it. And then we started realizing, oh, wait a minute, I need a crutch here. I need a crutch here.
Nobody knows who we are, so we have to kind of have some kind of niche or
so
whatever. So
it's fine. And like we talked about, we're not going to be good at this when we first start. I don't know of anything I've started in my life, the first couple times I do something, or even 100 times sometimes it might take to become good at something. So to me, I don't really care. I just want to keep on moving forward. This is more of a personal goal of trying to see what we can create here. And
we do hope that we provide some kind of value.
Sure. Yep.
To whatever it is we're talking about.
Right.
And I hope it helps people listening.
Well, I hope we receive something back that helps us too.
Yeah.
From the community.
Learn from the community, and hopefully we can give back something to the community. So,
anything else that you can think of? This
is not easy.
No, but I just want to commend you on this one. I think you did.
I think this
having an outline was
our best one.
Was easier for you.
Yeah.
And for me, it gives us an anchoring point. So I'd like to continue to use that kind of format. And if we go off of it, that's fine. But at least you have somewhere to come back to.
Yes. And we're going to be on a lot of the different podcast platforms. Most of the big podcast platforms are going to be on YouTube. So keep an eye out for that. You're going to be able to see us. I mean, you already see us now, so.
Yeah, so it's good. It's a good point. It'll be an audio, it'll be video, it'll be So
yeah, and we're going to have short clips too, short highlight clips. So if there's anything interesting we talk about, if you don't want to sit through the entire podcast episode, we'll shoot out some short clips that are interesting, conversations that we've had.
Right. So we'll have Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, website,
Twitter, be on most of the social media platforms.
The podcast platform.
So I'm sure we'll be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that stuff.
And you've done more of the research on that, Brett. So
yeah. So we're going to use a podcasting host. I'm thinking maybe I think it's what is it? I'll bring it up next time. It's like Podbean, or no, it's Sprout something.
I wish it was Podbean or Sprout.
There is a Podbean.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go with. I mean, there's not one good podcast hosting platform to go with. So basically, what it'll do is
it like web hosting then?
Yeah, but for podcasts.
For podcast, okay.
I guess that's how you could look at it.
So it disseminates out to the major platforms for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be called Bean Sprout. Fuck, what is it called?
Shit grow?
Hey, I'm gonna hang on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
look
this up.
Look it up.
I have it.
Yeah, so I'm excited that you're gonna.
Actually, I don't have it.
We got us set up on all that, Brad.
Yeah, so we're gonna be on that, and it's gonna distribute all of our podcasts out to all the podcast platforms. That's basically what I was getting to.
Right.
And we want your feedback too. So give us some constructive criticism. Any kind of feedback is great feedback. Just don't be an asshole. That's all we ask, but that's going to happen. And yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll try to answer your questions. Hopefully you'll answer some of our questions as well, right, by your feedback. And yeah.
And then we're always open to meet other people that are doing moving forward in their businesses or whatever they're working on, whether it be a nonprofit or they're doing something in their career to move forward. We'd love to hear the things that you're working on and move forward. So feel free to reach out to us. We'll have an email set up where you'll be able to contact Brett and I. And we look forward to talking to you and meeting you and getting your feedback.
Before we end, I don't think we showed the logo of the Lost Appalachia Trading Company.
Yeah, that was
Fayetteville.
I liked his.
I know, Joe, you wanted to show that.
Yeah,
I liked his little shop.
Not only did I like his shop, I just like how he greeted us and how friendly he was. And he did that to every person that walked in. He was very helpful, and I think one of the shirts he had in there had an owl on it. And that day, part of the scavenger hunt for everybody in the town was to go around looking for each store that had an owl. I don't know if you caught that or not. And he had one of the shirts, so the kids were coming in and checking it out. I didn't quite know how they were doing it. They were getting it stamped or checked off or something. But so definitely a great store if you're ever in Fayetteville. Stop by, support them. We need more entrepreneurs in our country. And so but I'm really excited that you got this all together. And you worked really hard on it. So
excited to launch it.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking for me. Yeah. As much as I love people, this is not an easy quest.
It's getting easier for me the more I'm doing this. As far as launching and putting myself out there, but when I do it, I'm gonna be like, oh shit.
It's a different way of putting yourself out there. When after you edit something and I hear myself, I'm not embarrassed of what I say. You know what I mean? But it's just you're self-conscious. How you're talking, what you're saying. Are you providing value?
Well, I admire the way you're able to communicate and get your point across. That's where I struggle. When you explain things, it's clear and concise, and you're hitting on all the nuances of what you're saying for the most part.
Well, I appreciate that. And I don't think that comes across yet
I want to get better at that
on this platform, but we've worked together for years now and dealt with clients and things like that. And that's kind of my forte, is to communicate with people and to, one of the things I know about business and doing business with you is I've been in rooms where people are talking and they don't understand each other. And like kind of getting in between that when we're doing production and saying, okay, this is kind of what we need, right? They're both saying the same things, but they're not understanding each other. And I think that's one of the areas that I can excel in when we're on when we're on set, is to make people feel comfortable. Make sure that when we're interviewing them or creating content with somebody that has to be in front of the camera, that we do that in an authentic way. And I think that's one of the things I've been able to do for us in our company. But it takes practice, right? And I feel like we've gotten out of practice a little bit with COVID. We're not hanging out with a lot of people, man. You know what I mean? We're not going anywhere, dude. We stay home 85% of the time, unless we have probably 95% of the time, unless we have a working gig right now. So that's been different too for communication for me. And it's kind of like, I hope that we're moving back in this country to move towards, let's get back to normal here, you know, or whatever, safely. I'm not saying we should just do it haphazardly, because we have family members that are older and we don't want to expose them. And I would never suggest anybody do that, but I'm ready to get back in the flow of things where, you know, I photographed weddings during this whole COVID thing, Brad. And I've gone to weddings where there's like 250, 300 people. You're like, oh man, like it's a lot of people to be around, you know? Yeah. So I'm hoping we're getting back to normal as far as being able to enjoy each other's and dinners and families and gatherings and concerts, and, you know, where people are going to feel more and more comfortable doing that. So anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to stomp on you there a little bit, but.
Yeah, so we are the Our Vision podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, please.
And it's not just our vision, it's your vision too. So
yep. Well, I want to
share it with us. Yeah,
please comment, email us. You'll have all that information, and we look forward to meeting people that are doing, moving forward in life and doing something every day, because it really comes down to that. Whether you're working for somebody else or working for yourself, you have to get up and try to do the best you can. And I don't care if you're working in a gas station, which I've done, do it the best you can. You know what I mean? Like, wake up and do something every day. And I think we'll have a better world for that. So.
Alrighty.
Yep.
Catch you guys later.
Thanks.
Bye.